Hello and welcome to this edition of Hunting for Silver Linings. And I'm Corey Hart. We're here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the Great Lakes region of the United States. It is Tuesday, December 22nd over here. And I'm joined by, we have Tony Rothacker over from Coffs Harbour in New South Wales, Australia. So grateful to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, Corey.
One of the main reasons why we do this is each one of our chapter directors, we are mayors of our own ecosystems, and we're paying so much attention to the people in our community and then in our regions. But we don't really have too much of an opportunity to really understand what each other is going through. And so this is a fun way that people can spend a few minutes and check in and learn more about Tony because they might not have been able to attend a global conference or just discover what kind of opportunities there are specifically in Coffs Harbour. So excited first to learn a little bit about you, your personal journey, how you ended up in Australia, and then also how you found Startup Grind.
Yeah, well, welcome to the future, first of all, because it's Wednesday already here. Wednesday night, 11 o'clock. And thanks for making it possible to keep me awake. But Corey, so nice to finally talk to you. And we briefly met at the Global. And I think we share, or many directors from Startup Grind share, very similar type of story where we are all problem solvers. You know, we like to help others, and we are sometimes so annoyed by certain problems that we want to do something about it. And that's my way to entrepreneurship. I started as a engineer, or maybe I start from beginning. I'm actually born in Czech Republic and grew up in Slovakia. And my father immigrated to Germany. Then my mother unfortunately died when we were quite young, and that allowed us to move to Germany, to my dad, to my brother and I. So I grew up in Germany, or went to school in Germany from year 8. I had to learn German, and then went to uni and became a civil engineer. And while studying, I done a study abroad program and spent 1 year in Sydney at the UNSW University. And that's where I met my wife, and she's Australian, married her. We've got now 4 kids, and she originally came from Coffs Harbour, small town called Emerald Beach. And that's where I am now, in a beautiful Emerald Beach with 30 degrees summertime, quite the opposite where you are right now. But yeah, very beautiful part of the world.
That's awesome. So I think I'll be a little interested to hear if you think that you've had some advantage in your entrepreneurial career down there in Australia, having come from a mindset from say Europe or Germany specifically.
Ultimately, it's all about being exposed to a new type of situation, and what do you do with that situation? It's like, some people analyzed when you have a startup, you actually jumping off the cliff and try to assemble the plane on the way. That's like it is, and you probably know how it is to be in marketing and market and be exposed to so many different channels. Try to focus on the most important thing. And I'm a big fan of the lean startup movement, big fan of Ash Maura and Lean Stack. And that led me also to, build something that someone wants and someone is willing to pay for. And it resonates with many other startups.
And you've been a part of the ecosystem and a champion of entrepreneurs before you found Startup Grind. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of that work that you've done?
Yeah, so I'm, as I mentioned, a civil engineer from background, but I actually ended up in project management. And from project management, coming to Australia in regional town, and the size of the town I am, 60,000 people. It's not huge compared to where you are in Michigan, and it's just Australia compared to US, it's just 10 times the size. So sometimes you do need to be entrepreneurial and you need to think globally. I think that's the benefit of being in Australia, that you need to embrace technology to help you to reach your target audience. And that resonates with quite a lot of entrepreneurs who want to see, the global type of opportunity rather than stay local. And that's my passion. And coming from a diverse background, the Eastern European background and mixed with German background, and be in between many chairs, kind of like I'm not really Czechoslovak, I'm not really German, I'm not really Australian. I'm kind of in between all of those. It kind of gives me an advantage and a disadvantage as well. But I see it hugely as an advantage to have, different views. I see how people do it in different countries, and I can empathize and I can understand when people are coming from other countries, language difficulties and different cultures. That helps me, and that's why I think the Startup Grind family is so great to be part of, because I'm kind of amongst like-minded.
I think you used a word there which might be a good bridge to learning about your current startup. So you used the word empathy. So how much of that gave birth to this to the organization you're now operating, running, and pushing and growing?
Yeah. So I worked as a BDM in an online learning space, and out of that I started to manage an innovation hub. And running an innovation hub, you are quite often asked to run certain programs and hackathons or innovation challenges. One of those innovation challenges was with local health district. And our local health district, we asked them, what are your biggest challenges? And they gave us two big challenges. One is helping indigenous mothers with smoking habits, and especially during pregnancy. And the second challenge was how to address youth suicide. So youth suicide is a big problem in regional Australia. And I was amazed about what a problem it is. I didn't realize until this challenge. And that led to quite a lot of data collection and my understanding what needs to be done in order to minimize that. So long story short, we found that many youngsters, especially with the rise of social media, spending too much time on screens and less time in face-to-face conversations. And many times the families are dysfunctional and they don't really have great role model to have a meaningful life or looking for a meaningful job. And meaningful job is quite important here because it gives them certain purpose, being involved in the community. So we looked at what can we do to address youth unemployment, because it's such an amazing resource to tap into, and we can't really do that effectively, or we don't do it effectively. So at the same time, we are in regional Australia, we are in a beautiful lifestyle, and we have quite a lot of retirees moving to the regional Australia. So why don't we combine the two and explore how they can benefit from each other? So we found a way. We found technology can be a real enabler here, because the youngsters are quite tech savvy. They, if you ask, do you know how to use a mobile phone? All of them say yes, even if they don't have one. Mm-hmm. And then we ask also seniors, do you know how to use mobile phone? And many of them, no, a waste of time for me. But would you like to help us to teach the youngsters how to communicate? So we found a way how to communicate between the two groups through technology. So our youngsters helping seniors, it could be teaching them how to use QR codes with COVID-19. It could be how to connect to their health practitioner with telehealth, or just simply connecting to their family and friends using technology and not to be exposed to potential dangers with the COVID-19 virus or similar like that. So yeah, we have had a great success so far.
Yeah, there's a startup that I'm involved with. We talked about it before I hit record, the telebehavioral healthcare, and we started a program early spring called Boomer to Zoomer is what we call it, which is connecting teens to the elderly that are in our locked down care facilities, since families aren't allowed to visit their elderly here in the U.S. at the moment, in most cases. So, and that's been really successful. Not without its own challenges, though, right?
So, yeah, and that's exactly where we started. We thought, why not take all those youngsters to aged care facilities, and teach those elders who are there, and many times they don't get out, how to use iPads so they can do something. And then COVID-19 hit, so we had to do everything online. And we found it's okay. The in-person experience is much better, but we now record live stories of the elders, and our youngsters are interviewing them, record it, and make it available to the family. And it's a nice way to, utilize the technology know-how, how to record using, technology like Zoom, and be able to create a meaningful type of content and engagement. But we've done a bit of data collection and analysis, and I'm not sure if you heard of the term social return on investment. There's something called the theory of change, and we looked at what is the social return on investment through our work. Do the elders benefit more, or do the youngsters benefit more from it, or the society? And we found the biggest benefit is actually amongst the youngsters. It's not about necessarily, it's certainly about teaching the seniors how to use tech, but also about how to equip the youngsters with those life skills, like communication skills, listening skills, empathy.
Is it too soon to be identifying trends on life purpose and reductions in like the suicide?
I think it's too soon to say something about the suicide rate. I think it's more of a regional data collection, and I would love to be contributing positively to reduce that rate, but I don't think I can claim it right now. So we are growing, and we are partnering with libraries now. So our youngsters are sitting at libraries and helping seniors in a public environment. And so we are also launching a virtual type of assistance. So when you need a youngster, you can subscribe to our service, and they are available upon your request or when you need it. So that's really exciting. Right now we are only in Australia, but we are exploring ways to go to America as well.
Very good. I know that certainly that's a format that would really benefit us over here for sure, especially in the way that you're going about it. And I think I really like the on-demand aspect, especially when you have a big enough like marketplace, right? When you have a big enough pool of youngsters to help and support. That's really great. So,
we have actually more youngsters than we can handle right now. We're missing the elders. So we currently, you mentioned it, multi-sided marketplace. We kind of need to market to both groups. The challenge for us is many elders are actually not on social media or online, and many printed media are stopping production. So we kind of need to rely on us, the middle, to be the connector, so the baby boomers and the Gen Xers. And we need to connect the two generations.
Yeah, we took some inspiration from some television advertising that was popular in the early 90s, where the advertising was really to the children, so the adults, the adult children of the elderly, right? Talking about like there used to be this thing called there was a necklace where you touch a button and then that would connect people to emergency services.
Oh yeah.
But the value proposition was to not worry about your elderly parent, right? It was marketed to the to the kids, not the elderly themselves.
Ah,
And that's how we have been able to grow our Beneventure Zoomer and our art therapy programs that we do virtually. Because you're right, marketing directly to the elderly is very difficult, especially when they're all locked behind doors, like in facilities, or
yeah.
you can no longer get to them via print, or they're not even going to church or other related groups. So, yeah. I'd like to learn a little bit about the ecosystem there. And you are our first guest from Australia, and I personally have never been to Australia. So I'm excited to have some of my biases challenged and walk away from this a little more informed. It sounds like that even though you exist in a beautiful part, very smaller community, that you don't need to be in a very busy hub like, say, like a Sydney to have a successful tech ecosystem.
That's true. And, with the situation that we had over the last year, things are actually changing also for the big cities. I'm not sure how you feel about how it is in Michigan overall, but what I sense that there's a bit of a ex-migration from the Silicon Valley. I don't know if the Silicon Valley is going to stay as this. I think there was was it FedEx who is moving to Austin or something like that?
Yeah, many firms are moving. Rents are down 20%, sometimes 30%, depending. We have people who can afford to live in Manhattan now that never were able to. So.
Yeah. So the Innovation Hub I'm part of, we currently advertise, and this advertising slogan is, where do you innovate? So we're asking the questions to those entrepreneurs, where do you innovate? And, then we put beautiful surfing shots and mountain biking and beautiful nature shots to it. And of course, it's about, having a life. And, sometimes startups, they tend to have the brand to be working on it like, 60, 70 hours a week, or 12 hours a day for 7 days a week. And I think that the theme a little bit, or the nature of those startups, is changing. That's my perspective. And I'm certainly the lifestyle entrepreneur. I do want to have a life, but I do want to create a meaningful enterprise. And it's a social enterprise for the benefit of the young and old, and for the society. And I think many of the big companies are, listening to Simon Sinek or reading his books, are going towards the just cause, the higher purpose that is bigger than ourselves. And I certainly can feel that I have so much more power, so much more energy to actually invest into my startup, because I can see the benefit of my clients. The financial return is totally secondary. Mm-hmm. And when I attend some of those sessions, and it's just incredible. And it makes my day.
That's awesome. I think so. Is part of that slogan, "Where do you innovate?" and then coupling that with this lifestyle benefit, like a balance. Is it the recognizing that some really incredible innovation comes from having the time to actually think, not just like actively crushing it all the time, but when you're out taking a walk or a hike, or you're on a run, like that's when your brain is like really crunching those difficult problems, right?
Yeah, and I had a really great example of that today. My co-founder is my son, who is 21 years old. He is the developer. And it was quite funny, because I said to him that, oh, look, we need to change this and that on a website. And I've got so many requests now, I don't know what to do first, and blah, blah. And he said, Dad, you need to meditate. By the way, he's the one who put time limit on my phone for social media.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and So I said to him, no, I don't need to meditate, a waste of time. I just need to do this and that. But he was right. I need to basically focus what is the most important thing to do, and don't rush things. Sometimes things take time. And it's so good to have, the sounding board, young sounding board like that to hear that. So yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, so we have a small little town in California called Venice, in Los Angeles or around Los Angeles, and more lifestyle brands of incredible impact, global impact, come out of that small beach town. Than yeah,
okay,
and maybe there's something to be said for just taking it easy a little bit. And also that might correlate to a global uprising in entrepreneurship. I think when we were at Global in February, Derek had said, yes, globally we're at a 60-year low in entrepreneurship right now. And so it's our time. Like, we need to get out there and really encourage the entrepreneurs. And now there's a huge groundswell, and perhaps because so many, not just because of a loss of opportunity, but because they had time to think.
And I think every challenge or constraint brings opportunities. And I think that's the time for entrepreneurs to shine, because we can challenge the status quo, how it is done. So I think COVID-19 was a huge boost for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. I really believe that. And you can see it on your business. You've grown, I have grown. And I have to say that every crisis has some silver lining, isn't it, in your...
That's right, yeah.
Right. So I think there's really truth in that, and we should totally embrace that.
So I still want to learn a little bit more about the ecosystem and what it's like to be there. So if I am, say, your son, and I am trying to get into the ecosystem, can I acquire the skills necessary through the school system and university system? Is there a skills gap? Do I?
Oh, you're opening a Pandora's box here. School system. So there are some really shining examples in Australia, and some universities like UTS, University of Technology Sydney, and Murray Herbst, they're doing amazing work. And many universities, they really struggled through the whole COVID-19, especially because they rely on overseas students to come in. At the same time, I think, not sure if you listened to the speech from Seth Godin, What is School For? Mm-hmm. He mentions that, school systems were designed 100 years ago for the manufacturing workers and factory line workers and so on. There's some truth in it. And from my point of view, and I think entrepreneurs are those people who are almost bored at school, and they are really creative. And Sir Ken Robinson was clearly put it that we need to be more creative. We need to embrace creativity, and to have a startup, to be an entrepreneur. It's very it can be very rewarding when the creativity is not being hindered. I think when we are creative, we're really having fun. We're really creating something that is visible to us. We are, like creating pots for pottery. But I do have to say that Australia has, there's not as much grit to embrace or go for the risky part, and as the Americans do, and I think that's holding Australians back a little bit. And I think that parents and families, they have now the role, the obligation to step up and let the kids explore what they want to do, especially straight after school. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of this social year or gap year. When you finish year 12, the kids should try whatever they want to do. In fact, in one of our guests at Startup Grind, I mentioned, do you think that entrepreneurship or build a startup should be part of a school curriculum, and when you graduate, you should actually have a pitch. You pitch to investors.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how well you go and testing your growth over the last couple of years, you can actually learn those skills on the way, about communication, about technology, global citizenships. There are all those something called 21st century skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that we are rewarding at Youngster as well. So we award badges to our youngsters when they achieve certain things, certain number of service calls or consultation, and they get certain badges, and we align them to something called micro-credentialing.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately, you want to showcase the employers that look at those youngsters. They know how to help elders. They are community aware. They have empathy. They know how to listen. And those are those attributes that many entrepreneurs are being held back by the education system. But I think that's global. That's not just Australian. From Australian perspective, we are very dispersed. So there's some big towns like Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and Adelaide. Mm-hmm. They are the hotspots for many entrepreneurs, many co-working spaces and accelerators. But I think the market is changing. COVID-19 has definitely shown us that we have now many big businesses opening up or sending their employees and letting them work remotely. And Google, just like Microsoft, I think we have over 3,000 people from Microsoft in Sydney. They all can work from home now, and so is with Google. And many of them choose to actually move regionally, because when you are in regional Australia with 1 hour plane trip, is just as quick as if you are on a high peak traffic in Sydney. And that's what many do.
So you mentioned all the larger hubs. Are you pretty well connected with the hubs? Is there a lot of communication between them all and what you do on the outlying areas?
Yeah, so I think COVID-19 brought all of us kind of together. So we have hosted several joint events like Bradfeld, I think we're part of. And I think you had another Australian on your podcast, Brenton Yell. He is a Australian, I think so. he actually used to run the Sydney chapter, which he stepped down now. But he is one of the most connected startup evangelists in the country, and great guy. So everyone from Startup Grind, if you reach out, they are willing to help. They really embrace those values, and it's just COVID-19 put really big brake on everything. And now there's I think appetite to explore those blended events where you have online and partially face-to-face. And I was lucky enough over the last 12 months, we were still able to attract amazing speakers, from Guy Kawasaki to Naomi Simpson. Not sure if you know Shark Tank, but she's one of the sharks on Shark Tank in Australia. And so that was a huge boost for a small regional town of 60,000 people in Australia. To have Guy Kawasaki, even if it was virtual, we had over 100 people on this video cast. It was just amazing. And he's very generous, and I'm very thankful for his time.
Yeah, I caught a bit of his talk for the Europe Asia Connect conference out of Tbilisi there. Still just a question on talent there. So you had mentioned that there's a decrease in foreigners coming to study in Australia.
Sure.
Does the Australian ecosystem rely fairly heavily on that imported talent that want to be educated there, and then do they stay kind of like you did?
Well, I think that's one of those challenges that is also affected by the policy, by our politicians or by our government. It has very strict immigration policy. And I don't know if you followed New Zealand, but New Zealand has really embraced this as an opportunity. So New Zealand is a COVID-19 safe haven. Mm-hmm. Jacinda Ardern is doing an amazing job. And they have something called the Edmund Hillary Foundation. And if you want to go to New Zealand, you can apply for visa through this Edmund Hillary Foundation, and I think you have to pay for it as well. It's not really cheap, but you get a visa to live and work and get huge support to embrace your startup, no matter where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is something that Australia should have done, because we are a COVID-19 safe haven as well. We have amazing lifestyle. We are English-speaking country. We could have Corey Hart working from here, having a swim and surf, and helping people in America with mental health issues.
Mm-hmm. I think that sounds like a fun time. I'm here for a bit of time yet. I have a 15-month-old daughter, so
perfect. Does she like the beach?
Well, unfortunately, I can't just take her away from her mother, so as much as the digital nomad in me would like to, I was location independent for about 4 years, so that's right up my alley. It doesn't take much to make me hop on an airplane and and have lunch. So, okay, so now, so back to the example of I was a young guy. Okay, I was able to go to the technical university, skilled up. There's clearly a lot of support. I can be anywhere in the country. Let's say I have a really good idea for a startup and I convince some team to come on board. And apparently that shouldn't be too difficult because of network. It's time to raise money. Do I do that regionally also? Like, can I do that in the town of 60,000, or is it okay? Is it popular to bop around?
Yeah, so there's different financial support options, and the Australian government is really helpful. So if you, for example, in New South Wales, which is one state on the east coast of Australia, they have several grants available, and they are quite simply to apply for. Let's say one grant is called Minimal Viable Product Grant, and they give you $25,000 to explore your idea, and you need to find matching funding. And I think it's a great start to explore something even pre-seed, even before you even approach VCs, even if you just have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several other programs from the government. Certainly there is now a VC land that is, I think, more focused on the growth stage. There is not many seed stage VCs, and but there are certainly some shining stars like Canva. You probably know Atlassian, and there are global success companies, and there are some really upcoming companies like Culture Amp and Safety Culture, and that all kind of started, from my understanding, with Atlassian founders, Mike and Brooks and Scott Farquhar. And from my understanding, it's an inspiration to many young, technically savvy, and not necessarily technically savvy always, but somebody who believes that technology can help to scale. So not only technology, but also network effect. That's why communities are so important, and Startup Grant is a vital part to help startups to grow.
Is it easy for foreign investment to come into Australia and attack that gap of funding?
There's several funds from especially America already investing in startups in Australia, and many times through some collaboration partners. Like there's a incubator or accelerator called StartMate, and there are several other accelerators where it's like a selection process. I do have to say that many startups are still utilizing options like Startup School. We also went through Startup School from YC, and we were actually invited to YC to pitch. We pitched, my son and I, but we didn't get into the batch. But we got great feedback, and working on those feedback, and hopefully we can go through again. But quite often if you have something like YC and they can offer those badges, and you can run it remotely.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great opportunity for other accelerators to run similar thing. It could be just centrally based in Sydney or even regional Australia and offer it Australia-wide. And that's what many are moving into now.
Yeah, I love the fact that the YC is free for
Startup school. Yeah.
For those that don't have the benefit of going to the campus and being part of the smaller curated cohorts. But the fact that they have thousands and thousands and thousands taking taking the courses.
But you know that they have very low dropout rate. So it's basically a MOOC if you take it. But what is the biggest benefit is the feedback sessions. You know, over the 10-week period, you have to participate in a feedback session. And if you get, you get only 3 questions that you need to provide feedback to the other startups that are pitching the idea to you. And if you score well, then you know you're going in the right track because the other startups get what you're trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the model is really, really well done, and I really like it. So I recommend Startup School or YC to many of the startups that I meet as well.
Right. Especially when so many folks are concerned about the barriers to entry, and you know, as long as you have the technology and some bandwidth to access the internet, there's just incredible resources out there. Okay, cool. So we talked a little bit about investment, and then you highlighted some of the bigger exits and successes that we've seen come out of the country. I love the Canva startup story. And it's a great story. It's very inspirational. And then Atlassian is a powerful company leading the charge in like talent management and recruitment with a real global vision on balance and equity. So I really love like how they talk. I know we only have a few minutes left. What your community there of entrepreneurs that you support, what are some of the more challenging experiences, or what are some of the big wins that you've had in your like local community there that you're either celebrating or had to help people pivot and discover?
Yeah, so COVID-19 has brought quite a lot of challenges, but opportunities. Some startups, they embraced it and they grew so fast, we couldn't hold them at the innovation hub. They were just simply too big. And other startups, they crumbled. And I think the market decides who will make it and who not. It's almost like nature, you know, and I think what I really like to see is, or what I really loved to see is to use technology for good and, you know, have this higher purpose in mind, so that we have, you know, we all have limited time here and we want to do something meaningful. And that reminds me every day that I, you know, if I do, I've made a meaningful and positive contribution. I know it sounds wishy-washy, but it always, it's like a guiding light for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very religious, but I do believe that we should look after each other and do the positive things in the world. And environment, for example, I believe that there is global warming, and many of the, you know, there's many believers that it's not. And I do believe that we should treat the nature kindly, and otherwise we get, you know, more viruses back on us.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it's a question out of the blue, though. So I'm really intrigued by the fact that you and your son, your 21-year-old son, are like co-founders of this company, and that's awesome. Does that entrepreneurial spirit run through the rest of your kids?
Well, my daughter, she is 12. She just set up her earrings business, and she asked me to set up an Etsy page for her. I don't know if you count it as entrepreneurship. And she was not allowed to have a dog, so she's got dog walking business, and she gets paid now to walk somebody else's dogs. So when there's a constraint, you find a way around it.
Mm-hmm.
She loves her time with the dogs, so I don't know. Maybe it runs in the family.
Sounds like it.
But it's about also having fun. You want to give the kids the opportunities that they need to explore the broader horizon. You have a 15-month-old daughter?
Correct.
Question to you: what do you think the future will hold, or what future would you like for her?
Well, I want her to have the autonomy to realize, whatever dreams pop up into her head, and I think I need to be the one who is there to support and encourage. I had the benefit of that kind of mindset from my father and my mother, and not everything I've done has been successful, but I at least know that I can. I have the support, so when things do go wrong, I can feel comfortable asking for help, asking for advice, and I'm not going to be shamed if something doesn't go my way. So if I can just keep that up, I think.
Well done. That's nice. Well done, Corey.
Yeah. So, then the last question I like to ask all the chapter directors is, because we do spend so much time in our communities doing everything we possibly can for those that are in them, what can the global startup grind community do for Tony? What can we do for you?
I don't know.
And you can always pop back with an email and be like, you know what, Corey, this catch me on Slack. This is what you can do for me. Because one of the benefits is we've had so many of these conversations, and now we're able to start, connecting some dots, right?
Yeah, I think that was one of those proposals I think I made on the global, that we all have some kind of background and knowledge, and maybe to provide feedback on what we are trying to do. I would love feedback on youngster, what if it would work in that country where that director is. That'd be great to, each director could have, 5-minute pitch and hear feedback from them, because we all have businesses on the side. We do Startup Grind as a side hustle.
Yeah.
And the same benefit would be so amazing for the members of the chapter. So if the chapter members get the opportunity to pitch what they do to the other chapter directors, and they're all entrepreneurs, and asking for feedback. And it could be in a weekly session like Startup School does. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I like that. It's and yeah, post-COVID, that's the way. That's just the way, I think.
It's not like Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Well, I'm so grateful for the generosity of your time today, especially it being so late. Thank you so much. I really appreciate making your acquaintance and getting to know you better.
Only 12 o'clock midnight. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right. I know. The day's just beginning, right?
Yeah. I'm almost on Thursday. There you go.
So
no, sorry, today is Tuesday. No, we're going into Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. So I look forward to catching up with you again sometime soon. I will keep that in mind as far as other directors that might be interested in youngster. And then, of course, if there's any low-hanging fruit of regions you need to be checking into, obviously let us know. So.
Absolutely. And look, we are exploring ways to, maybe if some directors have kids who want to work as youngsters, they can register and they might even earn money no matter where they are, because believe it or not, we still have quite a lot of, Australia is full of refugees and full of different nationalities, and many elders are from different countries who are isolated. So the value of youngsters who speak different languages is actually higher than just the English-speaking one. So it'd be great to have more youngsters from all around the globe registered.
Are there particular languages that you're in demand of?
Sudanese and Afghan, and I think Chinese as well, and Indonesian. So all those Indonesian countries. So APEC countries, because we are close to the APEC countries.
Mm-hmm.
Laos, Myanmar, Burma. I think it was Burma. Yeah. So we have some Burmese refugees, and many of them are isolated. So that way we can help those people who, if you don't know what's happening and you don't understand the language with COVID-19, you feel really at the edge. So I think that would help.
Well, so uniquely in my city here, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we're. I'm sorry.
How big is Grand Rapids?
It's about 300,000, but in our region, it's 1.5 million. Because to the coast, because we have a west coast, we have beaches and stuff. But we're known for being a very evangelically Christian community, and because of that, and all the missions and missionaries that go out, we've also become. It's been very popular over the last 100 years to. We have like a savior culture. So we have a lot of people that we import into our communities from other countries. And so now what we have in West Michigan is more languages spoken in our region than you can find almost anywhere in the United States in our community.
What's the most common language beside English?
Well, for now it's Spanish, because we also have a lot of migrant farming that happens around here. But the African diaspora is hugely prevalent here. Eastern European, and then former USSR. So quite a bit. Pacific Islander. So I'm working on a platform right now specifically about centering marginalized populations in our community and helping them find opportunities, especially through tech. So I'm excited to be able to talk about your opportunity.
Yeah, happy to help. If I can help you somehow, hit me up.
Great, Tony. Again, thank you so much. We'll speak again soon.
Yeah, all the best. Stay safe and Merry Christmas.
Likewise, happy holiday season to you and your family. Ciao.
All the best.